Abolitionist for Everybody is a podcast that tackles the sometimes difficult conversations around prison abolition. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Graham. This season is all about the journey of incarceration, from arrests to sentencing, family connections, parole hearings, and reentry.
Just a reminder, friends, though the title of this episode may give you some warning, remember that harm itself tends to create situations of alternate harms.
There will likely be other painful topics brought up too. Take care of you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Abolitionist for Everybody. This season, we've taken you through all the different pieces related to incarceration. Today, we're going to deep dive into reentry, a piece that a lot of folks don't understand is a huge barrier that formerly incarcerated folks have to navigate. For this episode, Crystal will not be joining us as we wanted to make space for formerly incarcerated folks. Today, I'm joined by Bleu and Roberto. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Can you please introduce yourself and maybe let us know how long you were incarcerated and for how long you've been home now?
So my name is Roberto Ramirez. I was incarcerated for 23 years. I've been home close to 2 years. While incarcerated, I was inside initiate justice organizer, currently a board member for the wrongfully convicted. So that's my 2 cents.
Hi, my name is Bleu Watkins. I was incarcerated for 27 years, 6 months, and 4 days. While inside, I was doing a lot of lifer preparation work for individuals to get them prepared to go to board. And yeah, so that's the kind of work I did. And I've been home. June 29th will be 7 years. And since being home, my first job for the first few years was reentry, housing individuals coming home from jails and prisons and helping them land safely and start their life.
Thank you so much for coming on with us. Yeah, and so we're going to talk a little bit about reentry. We know personally that the path back into the community is difficult for a lot of reasons, but maybe we could start and talk about like the initial experience of coming out that gate. Do y'all want to talk about your experiences with when you came home?
So I want to just make sure that I'm clear about that. Everybody's path is different. Everybody's perspective is different. Everybody navigated prison differently. So it might not be the same for everybody. So for myself, when I let's say when I first came out of prison, I was still technically a prisoner because I went to a male community reentry program. So it's a program where you have an ankle monitor, but you're finishing out your sentence, and it's a way like to transition back into the community. So they have a blackout period, which means you don't have contact with anybody outside of that program. And so you take little classes, like self-aware classes, and then after this blackout period, you're able to like take classes outside of that program, like go to college, get a job, things of that sort. But you're still like on curfew and real tough restrictions because you're still transitioning. So I came from a 180 level 4, which is one of the highest security prisons, and so everything's really controlled. You get your food in the cell. Everything's real structured. Like everything's at a certain time, and so coming from a controlled environment and straight into I won't say straight into freedom, but transitioning back into freedom, it's a lot. Like the traumas of being able to do something and not being able to do something. Because in prison, there's literally like red lines where they tell you can't cross this line. It's out of bounds. And so if you do cross those lines, even by accident, if you step over the lines, correctional officers will like basically yell at you and tell you, hey, don't be crossing that line. You're going to get a write-up, which means you could possibly, just for stepping over a line, possibly, your sentence might end up being longer because you get a write-up and going to board, and you're saying they're saying you're not following the rules and norms of prison or whatnot. And so coming back into this world, those are like some of the traumas that I had, like going into restaurants or just like grabbing a pen from a table that, you know, I'm allowed to do, I'm kind of like real hesitant and cautious about doing those that stuff, because it's like I'm afraid somebody's gonna tell me something, and not just that I'm afraid. I just don't like. I've always been like, I don't like people telling me anything. So I try to do everything in the way that I know that it's supposed to be done, so that I don't have anybody yelling it down my ear or any of that stuff. So coming into the world, I'm still cautious of those stuff, that stuff that I shouldn't touch this, I shouldn't that, but I'm allowed this stuff now. But slowly but surely, I'm starting to understand that, you know what, I'm free now. I could do this now, and I'm not in prison. But it's those are little things that still linger around. For the most part, that's one of the biggest things that still kind of like, I guess I carry with me, and I'm still kind of cautious about them, trying to let go.
Thank you so much for sharing that. How about you, Blue? What was it like for you?
For me, like I hit the ground running. Like my family picked me up. My sister owns a tire shop, so I started working like as soon as I came home. As far as that part, the technical part, I'm still trying to learn. You know, some of it. The phone was very, very, very complicated. Even though it's not rules and not an approval inside the prisons. I had phones in there, but it was different. You just basically you just dialed out up in there and take pictures, whatever. But when I was out here, it was really complex. The reason why I was saying I hit the ground running, I was working, I had a job. I had a car, I was working, but after 1 year, I had a complete total meltdown. I was overly stressed. I felt like I did not get that opportunity to breathe. What Roberto was talking about as far as coming home and having the blackout period at the transition housing that I went to, they had the blackout period, but it wasn't okay. I'm gonna give you two perspectives. When I first came home, I was there. I was there as a resident, and we were able to have our phones. Only thing we could not do was leave on our own for 30 days. If somebody, like if you got an approval for your family to get you, or you can have visitors and things like that. So we had that time. But me, I felt like I missed out on so much. So I hit the ground running. I just started doing all these different things. So my second perspective of that, after I started working there and started really seeing it after I had that meltdown, I believe we need them 30 days for me. Not saying taking things where you have this hard restriction line. I'm not saying that. But after doing 23 years, you ask yourself, Roberto, myself, Graham, those of us who were formerly incarcerated and did stints of time, whatever that looked like. When was the last time we sat down and just really had 30 days of just breathing, of just finding ourselves, grounding ourselves? That was for me. After a while, I seen that I needed that time. I needed that time to look at the sunrise and look at flowers that don't have the gates behind them. So I had to start imagining the beauty of the world and stop looking at me catching up in the world so quickly. But spending time for myself, going to the market and I got, I know if it go somewhere else. I got super overwhelmed going to go buy some milk at the store. When I left, it was 2 milks. When I came back, it's wall to wall milks. And I'm like, oh, how to be a millionaire. I'm phoning a friend. Which milk do I get? Because I was so completely overwhelmed, because I just took a minute to run to the store instead of taking a little bit of time for myself to debrief, to breathe in, to center myself. So that was my experience. And so would tell them after I got home, breathe. Let's just breathe.
I get that. So I went through transitional as well, and I didn't want to go to transitional. They required me to. So I actually had the experience of paroling, going to the parole office, thinking I'm just going to see my parole officer. He said, "No, you're going today, and this is where you're going." I had no idea. And they had a really stringent 30-day blackout period. And I remember like the anxiety. I was like, opportunities are slipping through my fingers during this 30 days. They had no phone, no contact with loved ones, no mail, no visits. It was like rigid. And I was like, I'm going to lose all the like job channels that I set up. I'm going to not have somewhere to go after. I was terrified that I was missing an opportunity. And I remember that sensation, like they won't even let me get my driver's license. They won't let me get my state ID. They won't let me get my social security card. And I felt restricted, but I agree with you, Blue. Like in retrospect, I don't agree that it needs to be so stringent, but I definitely agree that my mind could not comprehend like just how fast life would be. I went to McDonald's when I first came home, and I went to the soda machine, and it was one of those new digital soda machines where you like press Coke and like 7 Coke options pop up. And I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. And there was a line of people behind me, and I like panicked, and I just got water and I bounced back to my table because I didn't know how to handle that. And I wouldn't even say that that went away very quickly. And I want to know what y'all think about this. Like those types of experiences still linger for me. When I go to self-checkout at Walmart or whatever, if it's overwhelmingly crowded, I'm done. Like I don't want to be there. Like I'm uncomfortable. Same with the same soda machine, the automated order, all this tech stuff is super overwhelming, but really like the world is so much faster than things move in there. So I'd love to know y'all's experience of that.
Yeah, it's that technology is it's crazy. So I was 20. I had just turned 21. It was 1999 when I got incarcerated, and so now I'm just like it does still to right now. It lingers when I go. It's funny that you bring it up because I wasn't even thinking about that, but I think about it when I'm actually when I see the self checkout. I try to avoid it. I rather deal with people and just either pay cash, but I have my card, and so and still I do this right now. I'll still go to the self checkout. I get it now. Boom, boom, boom. I just like in my head, I'm like I'm patient and everything, but I know that the world's moving fast. They don't have time for patience, and I've had I've been in line where there's senior citizens in line, and they're taking their time. For some people, it's also hard for them to deal with technology, and I have people right behind me being rude, like, "Oh, hurry up! Why are they taking so long?" and this and that, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't say anything, but I'm still like, I'm right there trying to like, don't worry, I got plenty of time. Take all day if you want. I have patience, and so, but sometimes when I'm actually putting in the card, and sometimes I feel like I'm letting someone that's behind me, I'm maybe taking too long, and so I still have that in my head. Am I taking too long? So sometimes I try to avoid even using the card for those reasons. Or when I'm in a I got a pretty good hand on it now, but I've still got that in my mind. Like, won't be taking too long. But also when I'm in a restaurant, if I'm paying for the food, most of the time I just give the card to my girl, and she does everything. She does the tips and all that stuff. Like, oh, you take care of the tips because I don't know exactly how that works and all that whatever, right? I'm used to just giving them cash. I always carry cash for me still. But yeah, so sometimes I'm just kind of constant. Am I taking too long? Are they looking at me like, is this guy crazy or dumb or what? And I'm just still learning. But yeah, so those are the things I guess for me.
I feel, the same way as I said. And just kind of hitting back on what you're saying as far as the reentry. I think there's a whole lot to be done still with this reentry situation. It should not be stringent. It should not be shut down, locked down. There's no way. After being locked down, especially coming from something that's so confined, being locked down like that, and you have to do this lockdown on the streets, I don't believe in that. I do believe in breathing. Um, as far as the overwhelmingness, the fog, Jesus Christ, when I drove in the fog the first time, and it was like I had to be at work at like 5 in the morning. So it's like 4 something in the morning. It's still dark. And I hit a pocket of fog. I went on Facebook Live because I did not want to be by myself. Mind you, after almost, 28 years being escorted everywhere, being amongst people during the fog, the body just locked up. I just, my mind and my body just went into a whole nother place in that fog, because I was programmed that no, fog is bad. No, it's supposed to be security. Security, you always supposed to have something around you in the fog. So that was one of my things.
That's deep, Blue. I didn't even think about that, but I had a similar response when driving over the grapevine in the fog. I was like, do I pull over? Like, what do I do? Because, so for context for our listeners, in prison, they put you on a modified program when there's fog and you go under escort. So you'll go, there'll be a guard with you at all times, or you'll just be in your cell until the fog clears. And so after 20 plus years of just being restricted from movement, which is the statewide prison policy when there's fog, like there's a mental ticker that probably goes into place. I didn't even think about that until you said that. Another thing that you mentioned, Blue, was the tech. And I'd love to swing back to that if y'all are comfortable with it, because when I went away, MySpace was like huge. I don't know if any of our listeners will even know what MySpace is, but like that's like the original Facebook. It was just coming out and it had Tom, and that's all I remember. iPods hadn't came out, and I messed with a lot of phones. I had like 5 phone write-ups, but it didn't prepare me for just how entrenched the world is with screen time, with everything being connected to some link or some QR code. And that's still, I've been home for 5 years. It's still overwhelming. The thing that gets me, and then I'll circle to y'all for y'all's opinions, is that in prison, they teach you Microsoft Word, Excel, and spreadsheets. Like if you take a prison computer class, that's what you're going to learn. There are select places now that do like coding and stuff, but that's one extreme to the other, right? Like we're talking about basic Microsoft Word, how to type a document, Excel, how to track a document, and maybe slides, right? But outside of that, people are coming home thinking, I'm fully prepared. I took a computer class inside. And you get out here and everything is, for one, everything is Google, right? Everything is built off of Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Forms. Outside of that, there's zero explanation. There's zero like streamlined connection between the Microsoft training that you take and what's happening in the world. And I feel like that's by design, right? Like they know, everyone in that works in there and designs their program are fully aware that the world is in a tech epidemic. Like we literally can't survive without understanding what's happening on our screen. And yet they don't prepare us. So you come home, and I remember I avoided setting up a Facebook for 6 months because I was just overwhelmed. I didn't trust Facebook. Inside, if you use Facebook, you're probably going to get caught by squad. So I just didn't, right? Like everything, the way social media works, the way social media intertwines with like human relationships, the way that everything is a QR code, it was just overwhelming for me. So I'd love to hear y'all's experience of having to deal with tech.
So for the record, squad, that's the police. That's like the police of the police. They're the ones that are doing all the investigations and trying to catch everybody doing something wrong at all times. So so technology for me was it was a little weird because as Graham was saying, I also had a phone in there, and but I wasn't prepared to see how the world was actually navigating with phones. Everybody had a phone and everybody had their face inside the phone. It was like zombies out here. I'm social. I'm used to talking to everybody on the yard and on the prison playground, what you would call. And so I'm used to talking to everybody playing sports or just moving around, and I talk to everybody. I'm just like a social butterfly, whatever. And so coming out here, everybody's with their heads buried in these phones, just walking, not looking up. And I'm used to saying good morning. So I'm just used to being courteous, I guess. And when I was first out here for the first 3 4 months, I would say good morning to everybody. This is in the reentry program, and I would say good morning to everybody, and people would just blow by me. And so I found that real disrespectful. Like those are triggers for me. I found that real disrespectful. I'm like, is the guy just ignoring me or being rude? Or so I brought it up one of the times in class, and I was just venting, and I was like, I just find it real rude that I'm like, you hear saying hi to people and people are just blowing by me. And it was funny because I'm glad that I did bring it up in the class because everybody, well, not for the most part, a lot of people are going to go through this. They were being rude. They were just on their earpods. So they thought I was on my earpod and that I was talking to somebody else. And so when somebody mentioned that, he said, oh, you know what? I saw you, but I didn't think that you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to the earpod. I felt pretty dumb. But I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It's just the way of the world. and everybody's just stuck in their own place with their own technology people, whatever it is that they have. And so also with like on with Google and all that stuff, I'm I'm still like afraid of it. I know that I'm capable of doing all this stuff, but when I first came out, I like I said, I was in this community reentry program, and then I transitioned into an actual transitional house. And so for me, I volunteered into going into these programs because I knew that I was in a high controlled environment, and I didn't want to just go straight into freedom. And I felt like that was a recipe for disaster. Plus, I'm like I really like to consider myself real independent. I didn't want to be living in under anybody's roof, like family, friends, because after a while, I think that even gets played out. I still had to go get my social security card. I still had to go get my ID. I still had to a lot of stuff like birth certificate, and that takes time. And so I didn't want to just be sitting around on my brother's, sisters, dad, whoever's house and feeling like, man, I can't even go get a job because I don't even have a social security card. I don't even have an ID. And I don't want to be waiting around for it right here. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody. That's just the way that I felt. Even though they wanted me to be there, I didn't feel comfortable like being that because I'm so used to trying to fend for myself. So I went and took these resources and started taking reentry classes where they teach you certain things about technology, doing emails and et cetera, et cetera. But the first 2 years, I was real spread thin. I wanted to help and do so much for so many people because I felt like, you know what, there's still people inside that deserve to be out here that I felt did a lot more than I did to be out here. And so I was doing things with different organizations, taking classes with different colleges and stuff like that. But I wasn't really taking the self care that I needed for myself. And so now that's what I'm doing. Like the first 2 years, I was just going to school, doing things with organizations, and working like two jobs because I felt like I have to get to a place where it's like, okay, I can feel like I'm comfortable now. Now I got my own little place. And now it's instead of working, I'm still got my job, but I only have one. Now I'm thinking, okay, like I have thoughts. Now I want to put these ideas into work to now I could help because now I actually took time to self-care, to take care of myself because I was really masking everything that was going on in the real world with all the distractions of like helping this person, helping that person, dealing with all kind of people. But in the end, I wasn't really helping myself. I was helping, but not being helped. Like, and that takes time. That takes time. So my best advice is like if you have a family member, a loved one, or whoever that is transitioning back to like that, they do take transitional house. They pace themselves and they take care of themselves first. If they already have a job, then cool. But just to get involved in all kind of things and it's easy and it's fun and you want to do it because we want to help others because we were in that same position but still like you want to make sure that you're at your best when you're doing these things if not it's going to catch up with you and you're going to feel like overwhelmed as I did for a minute and I had to just kind of cut a lot of things out of my life and really take care of myself this last year and I feel like I'm in a better space now to want to do what I wanted to do when I first came out. And so technology is one of the things I'm going to revisit right now because you're going to need that in the world for everything. And there's a lot of opportunities that will present themselves, but you got to know certain things that come with technology. And I bypassed a lot of good opportunities, and a lot of people want me like to come work with them, but it's because I'm afraid of the technology that I've passed on these good opportunities. So that's one of the things I'll most definitely be revisiting.
Smart. I totally get that. How about you, Blue?
Um, so with technology, I still have this thing, like I'm at a 3 text, 3 email maximum. Past that, I feel like it's very informal, very impersonal that I just I can't do it. After a while, I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's doing too much. I will pull up if it's something technical. I'd rather pull up because I don't want to get things lost in translation. I remember when I was in the transition house and I was trying to learn something on my phone. And the person that I went to ask, she said, all you have to do is, and I just went crazy because it felt like I was being called dumb on the slick. Like all you have to do is like all you have to do is tie your shoe, or all you have to do is drink some water. It felt like I was, that was in my own mind. It was in my own head because I knew that I was illiterate, technically illiterate, so um language has a lot to do with it. And another thing is I basically I started my journey of incarceration at 19 years old. I've been, and I'll be 60 this year. It's not easy. People think like, okay, oh, it's simple as this. No, that's like me trying to tell somebody how to use like one of you guys how to use a 8-track player, 8-track tape player. It may seem, or me trying to tell you how to French braid hair. I could tell you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll catch on to it. And a different era. It's a whole different thing. Like Roberto would say, everybody has their head down. They're solely relying on their phones. I remember going out to the hospital with the staff, and it'd be all these different prison staff and everything. And it's like, I used to be thinking anybody can escape because everybody is down with their head down. Nobody's looking up to see who's walking past them or anything. It's just head down, cars driving, all this different thing. And I think that it's designed for such. It's designed to me, it's designed to isolate. I had a young man that I would be around all the time. He's 23 years old. And he seen these girls and he was attracted to the girl. And he went to the girl and said, "Hey, what's your Instagram?" And I'm like, "Yo, Instagram? What happened to phone number? What is your Instagram?" It's just it's a lot. It's a lot for me. Like I think it's an isolation. I see meltdowns, people melting completely down because a kid, because you're taking the phone, it has become the parent, the third parent. I want to learn enough to get by, but I do not want to be completely socially reliant on a computer of any kind for my everyday existence. And there's so many people that are coming home with that, but you cannot make it without having some type of tech savvy. Graham, I struggle. I absolutely struggle. I had a contracting job. They had changed their way of inputting, so they needed me to do some more inputting. I resigned because it was too much, and it was extra income because I knew that I couldn't fulfill that part. It was too much. I tried to resign, but they didn't let me. So they ended up, helping me with it. But I just said I have to send in my resignation. I'm done. I can't do it. It makes me feel like incomplete in society. Period. Makes me feel less than. So it's a lot of people that are coming home with these anxieties.
Yeah, I get that. So now inside throughout the prison system, everybody has tablets and they're getting a little bit of this experiential screen time, which is strange because I go into prison several times a week, and I watched out at the prisons I was at. I was there before the tablets arrived. Everybody was anticipating these tablets arriving. Then they got assigned, they got their tablets, and I watched the culture shift. And I remember that sensation of coming home because, for context for our listeners, again, like in prison, you spend your time, whatever spectrum you're in, like in the political spectrum, you're out talking to people, learning how to use the gift of gab to get the things that you want to happen. Outside of that, once I started doing groups and doing like self work, I was learning skills at communication and relating and like working with people through difficult experiences in like a productive, more socially acceptable way. And all of that took long walks on the yard, connecting with people, having conversations that, weren't escalated with like violent posturing or violence. Like that was work. And I anticipated coming home and having very much the same conversations. And that is just not the case. It's just not like you come out here and it's hard to get 5 minutes with someone without them looking at their screen. So like there's just like the self-checkout and the soda machine that we talked about previously, this tech thing is another huge hurdle for folks that are coming home. What are some other hurdles that y'all have experienced in this process of reentering society?
Finding a place to stay after the transition to housing. And it's not because I felt like I did everything right. I felt I saved money while I was in the transitional house. I took the classes to prepare myself for like for job skills for like I got OSHA certified. I've taken a lot of classes to be prepared for whatever job that I might be seeking out. But actually finding a place to rent is it's pretty hard. Not because like I had the deposit, I had financially I had the money right there ready, right? I had saved it and I did everything right. And just the applications, they're charging you for an application 30, 40, $50 an application. I don't have no credit. I don't have no credit. I've been incarcerated all this time. I've never had no credit. So every place is asking for credit. And so I didn't have any credit. So then I try to, well, I did use my dad's credit, and he has flawless credit. And that was even, and it was still hard because I still have to put my name that I was going to be the tenant. And then it's funny because I heard that after 7 years that there's really no record of you being incarcerated, right? And so I mean, unless they do a life scan, everything will pop up. So it was funny because like some of these places that I applied to, they'll send me back my record if I had any like evictions or any of that stuff. And everything just came out like blank. There was no evictions. There was no record of me of anything. So in my head, I'm thinking if I'm the landlord, I'm thinking either this guy's a Navy SEAL, super high, like confidential person, or he's like a cartel member or something, right? So I was like, man, I was like, so it was just hard because they didn't have any records. So if I'm a landlord, I'm thinking like, this guy has no history. I don't know anything about him. Why would I even rent to this person, right? And so I had to go through different resources or whatever. I ended up meeting a great person that the landowner, and he knew me, trusted me, and everything, and he rented out to me. And so I'm paying my rent to him, and but it was just that for me, it was real difficult. It was real frustrating. And so if you are living in a transitional house, I think that prepare for that is like start from the beginning, just looking, searching out places or whatever, and so that when your year's up or 6 months, that you're like you have something already there, and that you're not searching, looking at the last minute for housing. Because I was I'm so prideful. Like my sister and family and friends, they were all telling me to like, "Yo, come stay over here, come stay over there." But it was like I just I didn't want to live under anybody's roof. I slept in my car a few days until I found my spot, and it just said, God's work happened, everything aligned itself, and I'm good now. I mean, I'm pushing along. I just always tell myself that when somebody says this is hard, I always tell them I've been through worse. I've been through worse. I'm good. Like no matter what, there's that that's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be my breaking point out here. I feel like the best foundation for anybody's at rock bottom, and so it's going up now. So, but yeah, those are things that for me were like that was a real big hurdle, and I thought I had it. Like I thought everything was gonna be good, but it wasn't. That wasn't the case. Like when I actually started going to see places and the credit started popping up, I was like, I started seeing it happen. Like it was over and over and over. It was real repetitive. So I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the same issue everywhere I go.
I super appreciate that perspective. I got lucky and I found a place that didn't do background checks. My history was so far back that I didn't know that they wouldn't be able to track that. Like it was 15, 16 years before I moved into a place after getting my case. But I thought like this is going to come up, nowhere's going to accept me. But I found a place that didn't do background checks. But that's hard to find because people want to know who's living around them. And then like the feeling of judgment when my parole officer would come up to my apartment and knock on the door. And then I'd see the neighbors like, why is this dude in a flak vest walking up to this guy's apartment? Like that was for the 2 years that I was on parole was something that I continually had to go through. How about you, Blue? Did you experience anything in that realm?
My hurdle was getting my ID. When I was inside, I ended up sending out for my birth certificate. And my birth certificate did not have a name on it. No name. It just had my parents' signatures. and it just had girl. So I'm thinking, okay, I got it. And, I don't know. I don't know what things are supposed to look like. I knew my social security number. When I went to the DMV to try to get it with my birth certificate, and I had my CDC ID, they couldn't accept it. And they said that I needed basically somebody to identify me, but it was nothing that I had. So I had to go to the parole office for them to give me my printout with my name on it to take it down there. And they said that they would use it. And when I took it, it did not have my middle name on it. So I lost my middle name. The DMV said that they could not give me that middle name because it was not on the paperwork of my crime that I had to go get in order for me to receive my ID. I had never had a driver's license in my life. So here I am with a Y number. My driver's license started with a Y. I remember having an ID back in the day, it was a C. That was one of the main things, was me losing my name and my identity and having to say my babysitters, CDCR, are the only ones who can say, oh yeah, that's her. Not my mama, not my family, and that bothered me. And that was one of the reasons why I ended up changing my name, because I wanted to make sure I owned that name and it was on paper.
It's those little things. Those little things affect, I know my experience, and I know the folks that I've talked to that have came home, like those little things affect you so deeply. I remember, and this is in relation to something Roberto said as well. I went to Chipotle. I'd never eaten at Chipotle before this time. And like you walk in, you go to the register, you pick your food. And I felt like I was on a food line in prison. In prison, when you go to the chow hall, all the food is blocked off. They have metal stuff that blocks it all off. But you walk your tray down a food line just like this. And then someone from the register ran to the bathroom, and they had a bunch of keys on their pocket. And so the keys jingled when they ran around the register line to the bathroom. And I literally backed up against the wall. And so for context, in prison, when there's an alarm on that goes off, the first thing you notice is keys, and then you'll hear the alarm. It might be in the opposite direction, like opposite order. And I backed up against the wall, and it was a gut response, because in prison, you're supposed to get down, but you don't always get down. You wait to see and make sure that who you are with is okay before you get all the way down. And so I backed up against the wall, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'd been out about a year at that time. I still have occurrences when I've gotten pulled over. My hands will shake because I'm like, I'm going back. Maybe a traffic violation. I don't have nothing in my car that I got to be worried about, but my hands will shake because I feel automatically in a supplicant position because of my engagements in the past with police officers. So like something that I'm thinking of in relation to that was really, really difficult for me, and I'd love to hear y'all's perspective, is the expectations that we put on ourselves upon reentry and the expectations that family members put on us. And what I mean by that is, I know that I've been home 5 years, and up until probably the last year, the amount of work that I did to try to get in a position, like in my head, what I was telling myself was, I need to have these things so that I can be caught up, because I'd missed a substantial portion of my life. So I got to have a place, I got to have a car, I have to have a job that has this amount of salary, I have to have this kind of like family life. And I had a picture in my head that I painted in prison, either consciously or unconsciously, that I was rushing to get to. That was one of the issues with the 30-day blackout and the situation in transitional, was I was trying to get to this thing, and 30 days, 1 day, 1 minute being held back from that felt like something. I felt like I was back in prison, or that I was failing out here. Simultaneously with family, the amount of misunderstanding or lack of understanding that family members have towards my capacity, towards what I'm able to do, towards my commitment to them. So like, I guess in short, none of that was short, but in short, what I'm saying is, I felt like I owed everyone everything. And everyone would tell me I didn't owe them nothing and still act like I owed them everything. You need to be here because this is a family thing. Why aren't you talking to your sister? I don't even know how to answer a fucking phone. How am I supposed to, like, I'm uncomfortable when my phone rings. I got to call all these people every day. And so that's some of my experience. And I'd love to hear how y'all have experienced the expectation portion of reentry.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, the expectations. So when you're in there, it's like everybody is already like, and meaning everybody outside, your family members, friends, whoever, right, is a part of your life during this time. Everybody's already living your life out for you when you get out. Everybody's already when you come home, we're gonna do this. When we come home, we're gonna do that. When we come, and in my head, I'm like, I might do some of that stuff, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't like everybody. Oh, we're gonna have this party. It's like in my head, I don't like being around people, not because I'm paranoid or stuff like that. Like if I'm going out with the masses, it's because I'm helping out the masses, or we're going as a group to go help other people out, right? But it's not because I want to be at a party with everybody, like friends and families. Like I'd rather be at a get together with like there's 5 or 6 people where I'm actually spending individual time like on a one-on-one, and I'm really getting to know what they're saying and what I'm saying, and so that there's some depth in that conversation. I don't want to just be, oh, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, 1 minute there. That's the reason why I don't like being around. And then plus a lot of people do become annoying, especially when they're drinking. And so I don't want to be around, I don't want to be around people that are just talking nonsense. I got better time to do with my time. Yeah, that peer pressure is real though, because it's like you're thinking like, oh, these people are expecting this, that. So I think one of the things for you to be is not selfish, to tell your loved one that's in there, is let them know like what just like for me, the best advice is to pace yourself. Like if you're incarcerated, pace yourself and have space, and let your family and friends know, like, when I get out, let me just sit and let me feel everything. Let me see how everything's working. And then I don't want to be rude, but if there's something that I don't want to do, it's not because I'm being mean. It's just because I'm not comfortable in that spot. I just, I just need this space for myself. Everything's moving fast. Everybody's already adjusted in the world, and so people want you to, like for me, people want me to be here, want me to be there, and that's like that first year. That's how it was, and it's like and I want to be there. I feel obligated. I feel like everybody does tell you like, oh, don't worry, you don't owe me nothing, this and that. And it's like, but as somebody that cares, somebody that loves, it's like, no, you were there for me. Like I don't care about the material. I had everything in there. There's nothing that anybody could, like, you could send me money, you could send me back all that stuff, but I don't really need any of that stuff. Those are just little extra luxuries. But in my heart, just your presence, just having an ear, just having somebody that know, like, I could call and reach out to somebody, and then they're there, and there's like they have that time to spend with me, knowing that the world out here is busy. People got to pay their bills. People got to do things with their time. And so, I felt like I owe people that, because like I appreciate that. But now I feel like people understand, like, and there's people that you're gonna get upset when you're out here, like you don't care this, that. It's like, but it's like I'm thinking in my head, it's like I for one, I'm taking care of myself now, and for two, like I do love you, and if you don't get that, then I can't lose sleep over that. I still, everybody in the world's already adjusted. Everybody already has their house. Everybody has you know their life is already situated, and they're moving along the way they are. I'm starting from scratch. I gotta get furniture. I gotta get a house, a place to stay. I gotta get a stable job. I have to get on a whole lot of things till I feel like, okay, now I'm situated. Now I can go spend time with my family. Now I can go do this and that. And so when I'm spending time here and there and everywhere, I'm not spending time on myself to get to where I have to be to feel like I'm comfortable saying, okay, like come over to my pad, or I'm gonna go over there and I have time to spend now with you because I got these things taken care of. And so that takes time. It takes time. So it's not that I'm trying to be selfish. Not that I'm trying to be mean, but it's like it's rough out here. It's rough, the rents out here, and then you see the culture shock. So I think so that for me is one of the things. It's just the expectations of everybody and how they're living out their life for you. And I think they should think about how they're gonna live out their lives for themselves. So then they could get a point to where it's like, okay, I could I could incorporate my life into others and make everybody feel like, like, I haven't forgot you. I haven't forgot like your presence through all my time while I was incarcerated. Like I felt that love. That love is still not gone because those things like you'll never forget. Like those things are dear and near to your heart. It's just like the reality of life is that there's bills to be paid. There's a life to to create from scratch.
Thank you, Roberto. How about you, Blue?
For myself, it's thinking people out here thinking that you're coming home the same person that you were when you went in. Um, by saying, "All right, you already know how she is, or you already know how he is," or not understanding that just because I was inside does not mean the calendar was not turning. It was turning for me as well. Who is still the same person that they were when they were 19, 20, 20, 21, them ages like that. That's one of the things. Um, I came home. I've been home, as I said, it'll be 7 years, June 29th. But this is since June 1st last year. This is my first year of being free, like free, meaning I came home with owing everybody in my mind. That was what an amends was. I bankrupt myself mentally, financially, in every kind of way, trying to pay off the debts that I put on myself. I got in relationships because I felt like I owed them the better me, since I've been home. 2 relationships. So I have not this year started the first year of me doing life on my terms. Basically, I moved into my own place where I am just now moving, doing my own thing since September 1st, which is my birthday last year. So I'm learning that it is okay, and I do not owe anybody. I do not owe anybody an explanation of who I am now. I do not owe anybody an explanation on why I'm making the moves, why I'm not going to different functions. I learned when I was inside facilitating success stories at CCWF. This young lady said something that was so profound that I had never even looked at, thought about, or anything. She said, "No is a complete sentence." I never looked at it like that. So there's no explanation needed when I say no. But I always felt like I owed an explanation. I owed all these different things. So mentally, the stress level stayed high because I felt like I couldn't tell nobody no. Uh, I could not turn down anything. Christmas time, if you have 8 siblings and each one of them had wrote you at least once during my 28 years of prison, I have to give them a Christmas gift. I have to, make amends in every way possible. I have to be the one that, oh, uh, hey, you doing something Saturday? Can you come and do this for me? Even though I had a long plan of things that I wanted to do for myself on Saturday, I owed them my Saturday. And I still find myself doing that, but I think it's a work in progress. Those of us who were incarcerated and we decided to start getting that help needed from our community to redefine our ourselves or question some beliefs that we may have brought inside, or challenging ourselves to uproot and possibly you know uh dig into something else that will make us grow, since our growth have somehow some way has stunted. I believe that we have gotten more help than a lot of we invested more time in our psychological process than a lot of people out here. So since we've changed and they may not have, they think that we're still on the same continue present programming, meaning, like we're just continuing to do the same thing. We just went from one unit to the next. We went from one unit inside of prison to the one outside of prison. No, but we brought some different ways of thinking and things. So I found myself having these conversations that were beyond measure of who I was prior. And now I'm saying, it's being said, oh, you done went up in there and became a psychologist, or, no, I'm just thinking different. I pride myself in the improvements that I made, psychologically, because I was damaged. And I tried to show them I'm no longer using my words, saying I'm not that same person. I don't do that anymore. What I do is I show them. I'll just be like, okay. And I show them. And then they, as time goes around, it's like, you know what? I'm proud of you. Not that I did something for them physically, but that I stood in my beliefs today, and I felt and I became the woman that I am, um, with my own thoughts, my own ideals, and I stand there, And that was something that was very, very hard for me to do, because I felt like I would let people down if I was not little April, the person that left.
That's deep. And I think, Roberto, did you have something you wanted to say to that?
Yeah, I wanted to say something that I think it's real important. I think also, like, for family and friends, if it's important to talk to your loved one that's incarcerated or coming home, or somebody that's a friend that's maybe in a transitional house, that, like, you want to bring around family members. Let's say, you're gonna have a party for him or a big get together. I think it's important to talk to your loved one and let them know, are they comfortable, uh just for being straight up and asking questions like how was prison and stuff like that. Because I don't show up to certain family members functions or whatever, because it's like the people that I meet in the street or the people that I've just met, I'd rather have conversations with, because they're just straight up and they'll just ask me, hey, how was prison, this, that. And I like that. I don't like when somebody knows that I've been incarcerated. I don't show up around them because they know that I've been incarcerated. But, like, if I show up to one of their functions or whatever, it's like I'm in a fish tank. Everybody's just looking at me like, oh, that's the guy, that's that. And then talk to me, but it just feels like, just ask me straight up and I'll be like, I'll talk to you about it. But it's like, but I don't like feeling like that. Like I'm in the fish tank and I'm some kind of weird animal or whatever. And so it's like, just ask me. And that's why I don't go to certain functions, because it's like I feed off of energy right away. I notice that somebody's like trying to like walk on eggshells around me, and that's not. It's like, if you're feeling uncomfortable around me, then I'd rather just not put myself in this space, because you're making me uncomfortable. And so, and like, it's different for everybody. Like I said, my mentality is different from the next man's mentality that reintegrating themselves back into life. But for me, I think I think it would be like something that you would want to ask your loved one, like how would you feel around like more people, or like, oh, about, like, basically, like, what's happened in your life and stuff like that. Should we ask, not ask? How to, like, I think those are things that you should ask before they come out, because if you put them in a situation like that, it just might become awkward for everybody. And space is real important, because you don't want to push a loved one away because you're not giving them that space. And your heart, you're feeling like this might be right for him, but he might not just not be ready for that. So I think that's also important, because, like, you might be pushing them away or her away if you start putting them in situations that they're maybe not comfortable with, and they want to be there, part of your lives and stuff like that, but they just might not be ready for what you think they're ready for. And in your heart, you might think you're doing something good, but it might be actually damaging.
Stop putting people on the phone. Do you remember such and such? Or bringing people in your face. And a lot of times when we before we go in, for me, I'll say for me, it's a fault. When you say, hey, here, April, somebody want to talk to you, and they put, this is such and such. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, hey, send a picture, because I don't even know who this is. So putting us in them situations because the family is so excited that you home and they bring around all these people you done forgot about. Well, for myself, I forgot who they are, and they telling me about these stories that I can't remember or whatever. And you in a room full of people and everybody's, hey, what's going, and all this, and I'm like, why you didn't? I don't know these people.
You know,
Maybe I seen them through a different lens before I left. My glasses used to be foggy. So be very careful. Yeah, like Roberto was saying, give them a heads up. Do not introduce them to people that they may not remember from, a past that we're trying to forget. That is very hard. I have to tell my brother all the time, please, sir, I don't want to meet nobody else that I remember from way back.
I was thinking of something that you said in a previous conversation, Blue, about 40,000 collateral consequences. And a lot of podcasts and discussions on reentry talk about those because they're very real. They're systemic. By design, systemically, there's things like there's stigma, there's being followed around stores, not able to get housing, difficulty getting ID, difficulty understanding credit. And I think like the more subtle consequences are ones that we don't pay a lot of attention to, but we spent time on this podcast talking about them. Like um, the fact that they don't prepare you for the rush of text of tech components in life, like the amount of tech, the way that society is different. They don't prepare you for relationships, right? And y'all have just touched deeply on relationships. And I think it's super important that we pay attention to those things too, because those are things that we can affect. Like folks that are coming out of prison that have a desire to go back in and work with people, like we can create relationship classes and take those in, because I know I came home with no context of what an intimate relationship or a family relationship was supposed to look like, except through my prior lens. And so I had no ability for 4 years, and I still struggle with setting boundaries like that. When you were talking about like setting clear boundaries of, I don't have capacity to do this, I'm not willing to do this. Boundaries aren't my strong suit. It's something that is a learned skill, and I didn't have that. And I think in reflection to some of the folks that I've worked with thus far and stuff that I've encountered in the 5 years I've been home, I did a lot of work on harmful behaviors, on belief systems. I did a lot of work on the way that I carried myself through the world and the mask that I wore, and I was able to take that off. But when I took that mask off, I didn't have a firm value system underneath it that was not based off of what other people told me I was supposed to be doing. Right. So I came home and I encountered relationship issues, conflict with friends, all sorts of things, lack of setting boundaries. And I think like we can spend a little time before we close out, like maybe talking about some of that stuff. How do y'all feel about that?
So yeah, that's rough. So when you're incarcerated, at least when when I was incarcerated, like I said earlier, that I had a phone, so I would communicate with friends and loved ones, and I felt like I was the one that people would always come to, like when they were having issues, and I love that role. Like I would love to give advice, and like I've been through a lot, so most of the situations that we'll talk about, myself at one point or another had gone through that, so I felt like I was giving the proper advice, and remember I was in a cell, and so I was in a cell. Just I had a cellie, which is another incarcerated man that was right, and I was bunkies with or whatever, and so my time was like real quiet. He had his little program, and we both learned how to live in this little box. That was our everything, right? Our that was our gym, that was our kitchen, that was our library, that was everything. Our dining room, our living room, everything, right? And so we made good with that space, but we understood each other. We know how to communicate, and so we understood each other's personalities and stuff like that. So and what in a weird way, I guess that would be considered a relationship. We had to learn how to live amongst each other so that we could coexist and it could be a comfortable ride moving forward, right? And so I had that patience as I was learning his mood swings and his emotions and stuff like as he was learning mine. And so we knew when to stay, like, kind of just leave each other alone or when to talk or whatever, right? Because I was so used to, like, if I had a celly, I was gonna stay with him either to he transferred to another prison, he went home, or in some cases got in trouble and he ended up going to the hole. And so that's the kind of patience that I had when I was on the phone. When I was on the phone, you know, friends would talk to me about, hey, this just happened, this and that, and I don't know what to do. This person acting in a certain way, and I'm just come down, relax, like, and just kind of just sit back. And if it's that big of an issue, do you still want this individual in your life, or do you want to move forward? It would make it easier. Is he helping out your life or is he not? It's like you got to protect your energy. I believe in that. It's like if your energy's not good, or this person's not making it good, then you need to separate your energy from that. It's like 'cause you don't need anybody to help you do bad. You could do bad on your own if that's the case. So, I had that patience. I had that space where my mind was in its zen, just real relaxed and kick back. But then coming out here, and it's like you feel like you got all this stuff under control, and you think like you're gonna come out with that same mentality, but the world's just zoom, 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 zoom. Everything's just coming at you, and everybody wants to see you, and everybody's having their issues, and that person this and that person that. Don't hang out with this person because it's like okay, calm down. And it's when you're in the physicality of it now. Now you're here. Now you're in the present. Now you could actually move here, move there, navigate a certain way, and then people are in your face, and you're actually seeing their emotions and their anger, their hurt, their tears and their passion. It moves you in a different way. It moves you in a different way that kind of it clouds your mind and different things. And so that I think like what you were talking about with setting boundaries, that's like a real big thing because it moves you. It moves you. You want to do this for this person. You want to do that person, and you feel like the intensity of that emotion is driving you certain like it's dragging me this way, it's dragging me this way, where before I was right here, right in the middle, right in my zen, right in my space, and everything was just smooth. But now it's like you're here and you're seeing their actual reactions to certain things, and it affects you in a whole different way. It affects you in a whole different way. So you react in a different way, or it moves you emotionally in a different way because it's like you're actually here now. You're actually seeing the hurt. You're actually seeing the happiness. You're actually seeing the passion. And so it's different from just hearing it. It's different from just hearing it, having your heart calm, and because now you're here. Now you're able to do something about that. And so sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings, but some of the emotions aren't yours to deal with, Some of those emotions you gotta just step back and take care of your energy. Because if not, it's gonna get you caught up in a fucked up state of mind where it might drive you into a space that is just not good for you. Point blank. You love this person, everything this and that, but that's not your emotion to deal with. Let them figure it out. And you give them advice and this and that, but step back from it because they could take you into a dark place. And it's like you're still creating a better life for yourself out here. You don't need no setbacks. And anybody that truly loves you is gonna understand that and is gonna push you forward and help you in whatever it is that you might need when you ask. Then instead of trying to bring you with their fucking drama, their emotions, stuff like that's gonna set you back and possibly get you in a space that's just dark. And so you got to be careful about those kind of things that just protect your energy and like know when to step back, know when to say no, know when to set your boundaries and just say, you know what, I just can't put myself in that situation. It's just not good for me. You might not like it, you might think I'm fucked up, I'm not helping you here in this and that, but it's not gonna be helping. I'm not gonna be helping anybody if I'm not helping myself.
I I've come to the realization as time went on since I've been home that the most important relationship that I could possibly have is with myself. When I did the top 5 things that are most important to me, I did not put myself as one of the main things in my life that I need to be focused on to live in integrity, to show every day that that is important to me. But as time went on, I started understanding that the people on my top 5, I'm no good to them if I'm not on there myself because my relationships are based on the changes that I make inside of myself. So I realize now that I do not have to have a person on my top 5 as long as I have myself on there, because if I do, the energy, my responses, my acceptance, my boundaries, all of that will reflect because of who I am and the way that I'm presenting who I am, and that I'm standing in my own space in that energy, which is something that's hard, oftentimes because of the giving nature that we come home with, that we want to make everybody around us feel better, feel good. This hidden amends that we don't say, we don't mention it, but we show it. And it could deplete us. So as I said before, I gave myself to 2 relationships that I felt like I had failed in my past because I felt like I owed them relationships, even though I was not the person that I am today. I'm not the person that I was back then. I'm a new person, but I feel like I needed to show them the newness, that the new person will not hurt you. Let me show you. Let me be in this relationship with you and show you. And I harm myself even more because I was trying to force a square into a circle. Basically, I came, it's like I magically fell from the heavens with this, this ingredient that is going to make your life so much better, because here I am, ta-da, but I left myself out in that cold, giving, giving that. I know so many women who have did an abundance of time, came home and linked up in these relationships, and now they're being physically abused, mentally abused, psychologically abused, and they won't leave because they feel like they owe. They owe. They I've had conversations with them, and hopefully, they'll see themselves bigger than what those relationships are. And I found myself in situations where I needed to, I was a palm tree growing in a plant for a little house plant. And I had to replant myself into something else. I had to see that I had outgrown certain situations and there was no need. Like it just happened. Life just happened. So I had to transplant myself into somewhere where it would be appreciated, first and foremost, by me, that I have grown, and a relationship does not define who I am. We come home, I'm gonna say myself. Some people may, if I could get an amen from time to time, it'll be okay. We come home feeling like that's one of the main things we need to do in order for us to feel like we are productive. Get into a relationship that is healthy. Get into a relationship that will define who the growth that we had. And I come to realize that that's not what I need. I need, my number one thing right now is my relationship with myself, because I never had one. I courted myself from time to time, but I never had a real relationship where I said that I am the number one love in my life right now. And then I have to, every relationship is not cookie cutter. And that is something that is, as you both said, that is something that nobody teaches you that. You don't get inside, you don't come home from inside and say, well, I got the relationship part down pat. I feel like I know not to cheat. I know not to be abusive. I know not to say these certain words. I know all these different things, what not to do in these relationships, but I do them to myself. And one of the number one things my favorite topic in the curriculum that I facilitate is love versus harm. They cannot exist in the same place. And I often say, if I'm loving somebody and they're harming me, I'm harming myself. What relationship or what fight have you guys really seen where there was 2 against 1 and that 1 won? That 1 wins that fight. It's normally it's really hard. So if I'm loving you and you're harming me, I'm harming myself. So there's no way in heck that I can win within myself. So I'm losing, I'm putting myself in a situation where I'm gonna lose because I am accepting these things. So I have to step back and reanalyze my life and understand that relationships are only going to be as great as I present myself, as I accept myself, the boundaries that I set. So if I go into this relationship and it's harmful to me, that's what I set myself up for. I have to that's what my kids, my parents, my community, my relationship, whatever that look like, intimacy, whatever that look like. I have to be the relationship with me have to come first in order for me to identify what it is that will be harmful, identify what it is that I really need in order for this relationship to thrive. So that's where I'm at with this.
Y'all brought some depth and some breadth to this conversation today. We hit a wide array of subjects that people may not consider. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We don't know. But I know that we're considering them deeply. What's something that we missed that we want our listeners to get before we wrap?
I'm gonna say, when you come home, a blank slate, like a canvas, where people can give into you the things that you need at that time. Do not deplete yourself. You owe no one anything but yourself. Until you pay yourself, you cannot give something that you don't have. Take your time. Graham showed me this and told me this. Name your needs. Name them. Don't sit back and you have something heavy on your chest, something heavy on your head, and never mention it. Sometimes it's a scary thing. It really is, because we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to disappoint. We don't want to be like somebody who's complaining or whatever the case may be. But if you hold it in within yourself, it's toxic. And take your time. If you feel rushed, say no.
I think also it's once you come home, just know that this world is yours. Just as anybody else that's living out here, it's yours. Just, there's gonna be many things that are gonna, that from being in those spaces of incarceration, are gonna make you feel like you can't do this, you can do that. Just know that you got as much access and the liberties that everybody else that's around you. They're no different than you are. And also that there's gonna be all kind of a variety of triggers, or new triggers. It's one thing to actually learn the stuff in there and deal with the various personalities in there, but it's a whole different world of personalities out here. There's a lot of homelessness, there's a lot of mental illness, and if you're gonna be out here and you're gonna go through a transitional, more than likely you're gonna end up taking public transportation. And so I work in those trains, I work in those spaces, and it's a space that you can't just walk away from. So just be real aware, and one of the things that we do have is awareness of our surroundings, and don't take everything so personal. It's not prison. It's not where, at least from my perspective, it's not like where you gotta react to everything. It's just certain people are in different spaces, and everybody's living their own life in their own heads and going through their own things and reacting and doing things the way that they're doing them in life. Just stay in your own space, stay in your own head, and just know that there's people out there that care about you, like that matter more than the situation that's at hand. Whoever it is that's in your life, just know you're going back to that. You're going back to that, because you're gonna run into craziness out here, for sure, for sure. You're not gonna be able to avoid it. And so that for me was an outer body experience. Like, I just felt like everybody was living a different life than my own, and you just see the craziness, but you'll also see how much ahead you are than a lot of the people that are out here, because you worked on it on yourself, and just just stick to it. Don't get distracted. Like Blue was saying, it's just make sure it's all right to say no, and it's all right to take care of yourself first, because that's what matters, and that's how you'll be the best person. The best version of yourself is going to be the best version for anybody that's going to be a part of your life. So those are those. Good luck and all the blessings and all love.
I love that. Thank you both. For me, I'm going to say, so like Blue mentioned, 40,000 collateral consequences. Like spend some time for folks that are coming home, spend some time evaluating that. These are systemic by design ways that the system sets it up for folks to fail. And that can seem disheartening when you view it through the negative lens. But in the optimistic lens, like folks that are coming home, we're built to strive. We don't just adapt, we strive in whatever situation we're in. I made prison comfortable for me. That's not to say that it was comfortable or that it wasn't traumatic. We talked about some of those traumas, but I know that a lot of folks in there make it a livable environment and find ways to achieve healing and growth and connectedness in an environment that's designed to take those things and do that same thing when you come home. There's a community of support out here. People who are previously incarcerated connect naturally to people who were previously incarcerated around them. Blue, Roberto, myself, like, I didn't know them inside, and I know them out here, and I feel closer to them than to some of my family members, even if we don't talk that much, just because of our shared experience. So like lean on that. And for the loved ones of folks who are coming home, lean into that as well for a better understanding of the map, because it's a very complex map of emotions and reactions and responses that everyone needs to understand so that we can overcome those 40,000 collateral consequences and strive out here. You've been listening to Abolition is for Everybody. Be sure to follow us at @abolitionis_ on Instagram, Facebook, and X for regular updates.
To support, please rate and comment wherever you listen to your podcasts. Those 5-star ratings help our people find their way to us. So thank you.